Did you know that the Romans believed ghosts returned in the dreams of the living? Hello and welcome to World History Encyclopedia. My name is Kelly and today's video is all about Roman ghosts, how they appeared and what they meant. World History Encyclopedia is a non-profit organisation and you can find us on Patreon, a brilliant site where you can support our work and receive exclusive benefits in return. Your support helps us create videos twice a week, so make sure to check it out via the pop-up in the top corner of the screen or via the Patreon link down below. Although it is never wise to generalize about a culture, it seems safe to say that the Romans believed in ghosts as just another aspect of daily life. Each person was thought to be animated by a divine spark, and when they died, this spark, their spirit, moved on to the afterlife. The Romans believed in many different kinds of spirits, and among those were those who, for one reason or another, could not or would not move on and return to haunt the living as ghosts. There were many different types of spirits the Romans believed in, besides those they defined as ghosts. Panes and Penates were the spirits of the pantry and kitchen. Panes literally means bread, who made sure the home was stocked with food and protected against spoilage. Families gave thanks to them before every meal, and a portion was set aside in their honour, which was burned afterwards. Lares were guardian spirits who could be members of one's family, but didn't have to be. The Lares were honoured with small statuettes in the home, and, along with the Panes and Penates, moved with the family when they set up residence elsewhere. A type associated with the Lares were the Parentes, the spirits of one's ancestors, but usually referring to one's mother and father. Manes were the collective dead, known as Demanes, the divine dead, and were the souls of everyone who died and passed on to the afterlife. A Mane was the divine spark which had animated them in life and was thought to reside in the head. Busts of family members were made and kept in the home to allow the Mane of that person a place to reside when they visited. Lemures were Manes who could not pass on and were the uneasy and wrathful or mischievous dead. Today, they would be known as poltergeists, who troubled a home or person until their problems are dealt with and they can move on. The most common cause of a haunting by a lemure was improper funerary rites, ignoring their last wishes as set down in a will, or a murder where the killer had not yet been brought to justice. One of the most important Roman holidays was Lemuria, held annually in May, which tried to address these spirits collectively and send them on. Umbrae were ghosts defined as the spirits of those who had once lived who returned for their own reasons. They could be good or bad, depending on their relationship to the person they appeared to and how they appeared. If the spirit of a loved one appeared in a dream, this was considered a good sign, especially if they had some important news, like where they had left their will or buried some money. But if a strange ghost showed up in a dream, it was a bad omen, and it was even worse if such a ghost appeared to someone who was awake. This type of haunting was thought to be caused by some misdeed on the part of the person who was being haunted. Aside from dreams, an umbrae could appear between the torches, between the time torches were lit in the evening and when they were put out in the morning. And any kind of umbrae could appear this way, but the most common was an apparition of someone, whether a relative or a stranger, who needed a wrong righted, such as their body found and laid to rest, their tomb repaired, or their killer brought to justice. Did you know that only a small fraction of our viewers are subscribers? Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our new uploads, and to help us create more great history content. An example of this type of haunting is probably the most famous Roman ghost story as related by Pliny the Younger to his friend Sura in a letter. Pliny relates how there was a grand house in Athens that no one would rent because it was haunted. The philosopher Athenodorus came to town and, not believing in ghosts, rented the place cheaply. At night, he woke to hear rattling chains and saw a ghost who motioned for him to follow and then led him to a spot in the courtyard before vanishing. The next day, Athenodorus had the city magistrate dig up the spot the ghost had pointed out, and they found the remains of a man bound in chains. The body was given a proper burial, and afterwards, the haunting stopped. This is an example of a full apparition appearing between the torches to resolve a problem so the spirit could find peace in the afterlife. An example of the spirit of a loved one returning in a dream comes from the writer Apuleius, who tells of a man named Thrasyllus, who fell in love with the wife of his friend Tlepolemus and murders him when they are out hunting together. Tlepolemus's ghost appears to his wife in a dream, tells her how he was killed by Thrasyllus, and asks her to avenge him. His wife then invites Thrasyllus, who has asked if he can court her, to her home and gives him drugged wine. Once he passes out, she blinds him with her hairpin and then runs to her husband's tomb, where she denounces Thrasyllus as his murderer before killing herself with his sword. Thrasyllus then has himself walled up in Tlepolemus's tomb and starves himself to death. Both these types of hauntings were used by the playwright Plautus in his comedy Mostellaria, The Haunted House, featuring the stock characters of the clever slave and clueless master. The master, an Athenian merchant named Theopropides, goes away on business and leaves the operation of his home to his son, Philoloches. Philoloches, finally left alone without supervision, borrows a large sum to buy the freedom of a slave girl he loves, and then throws a grand party at his father's house. The party is roaring on when his slave, Tranio, tells him he has just heard that Theopropides has returned unexpectedly and will be home soon. Tranio locks Philoloches and his guests in the house and then meets Theopropides outside and tells him he cannot enter because the house is haunted. He says how a ghost appeared to Philoloches in a dream between the torches and told him how he was murdered in the house long ago by a former owner who killed him for his gold, and that the man's body was then concealed in the home and it is unsafe for anyone to enter. Theopropides believes him without question, and the rest of the story unfolds from there. A Roman audience would have found this funny because Tranio, in his haste to come up with some kind of story, confuses the two best known types of hauntings, the dream visitation and the apparition appearing between the torches. The ghost of a stranger murdered in the home long ago would not have appeared in a dream. If there had actually been a man murdered in the house, as in the story of Athenodorus, the only way to stop the haunting would have been a proper funeral with all the necessary rites, and if the person's name were known, a monument or tombstone erected on his grave. Roman tombstones were often engraved with the opening letters DM, which stood for Dis Manibus, to the spirits of the dead, letting them know that another soul was on its way to join them. This was considered a courtesy paid to the departed as well as the newly deceased, in that the dead could prepare to receive the new soul and that the soul would find welcome in the afterlife. The spirits of the Penates, Lares, Parantes, and others who had watched over a person in life were absent at one's death because one had now become a Mane, one of the divine dead, and was in a position to watch over others. If the proper funeral rites were not observed, however, or some foul play had been involved in the person's death, that soul could return not to protect, but to haunt, as yet another Roman ghost. Do you believe in ghosts? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our new uploads published every week. This video was brought to you by World History Encyclopedia. For more great articles and interactive content, head to our website via the link below. If you like my shirt, you can find this design and a bunch more in our shop at worldhistory.store, or you can find a link for it down below. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon with another video.